Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, we're working down at a friend's place today and we are in the shearing shed. They are shearing their lambs. They've got about 1,000 to do, but we've only got 2 shearers today, so it will be a fairly cruisy day. Now, why do we shear lambs? These lambs are being sold soon, and once they get to a certain size, they start putting a lot of their energy into growing wool rather than growing themselves and putting weight on. If you shear them, it just means that for a little while they'll start putting weight on instead, and depending on who buys them, sometimes you'll get better prices if they have been shorn. They don't produce a lot of wool, so you make a little bit of money from your wool, but not as much as a full-grown sheep, and it costs you the same amount to shear them. You've got the same number of shed staff and things like that, so you don't make as much money, but it's mainly to make them put on weight and grow a little bit more. Now, when we're shearing lambs, the shearing process is identical to the bigger sheep, but the way that we handle the wool is a little bit different, because the fleece falls apart. With a big sheep, you can pick the fleece up and throw it onto the table and it all holds together. The lamb's wool is a bit shorter and a bit more hairy, so we keep it separate because it's got a little bit of hair in it, and it doesn't hold together. So we just process it a little bit differently if you're the one roustabouting. Today we're working with Chris. He's the local contractor and he's a brilliant shearer. So the shearer starts off exactly the same as with a bigger sheep. Well, the shearer's job is exactly the same. He shears them in the same way. The first thing is to take the belly off, and he will normally chuck it to the nearest roustabout he can, and that goes in the butt with all the locks, the board locks. Next he takes off the back leg, and this is where it is a little bit different for the roustabout. At this point we want to try and get any stain and all the hocks and stuff out of the fleece now. This just makes it easier when it gets onto the table. We'll also try and get that top knot off the top of the head out, and that all ends up in the wool butt with the belly. He's then going to proceed to shear the rest of the sheep. When it comes to him getting to the end of the sheep, there's a few more hocks and things like that that come off that we don't want to pick up with the fleece. These get swept up and put in the wool butt with the bellies and everything. So you'll notice when I pick the fleece up, I leave just a little bit of wool at the other end. We use lamb boards to pick the fleece up because it doesn't hold together like a full-size fleece. Here you can see him, that first cut he makes is on the front leg, and that falls to the left hand side of the sheep. Next he takes the belly off and chucks that to whoever's close by. All of these bits he's taking off now from around the legs they have a bit more hair in, which is why we want to keep them separate. They're a different type of wool. So you can see me here just coming in and flicking away all of the bits that are different to fleece wool. There's also a dag I just flicked out of the door there. He's also taken the top knot off the top of the head, which sometimes falls into the fleece, or sometimes you can flick it away just after he takes that off and get that out of the fleece now as well. The better preparation that the roustabouts can do on the fleece now, the easier it makes for whoever is on the table sorting the wool after the sheep has been shorn. So it's a little bit hard to do this holding the camera, but as he goes round the back legs here, I'm just going to flick all of that wool out of the way, and as soon as he goes up the back there, I can flick out the last little bit of the different wool, and he flicks out the last little bit with his comb. When we get it on the table, we want to try and put it upside down. So you'll notice I gave it a little flick as I was letting it go, and this just flipped it over. This means that a lot of the bits we need to get out are sitting on top of the fleece, and I throw them in the butt behind me, and the rest of the fleece just goes into the press. It's also the roustabout's job to keep the shed as clean as possible. All of the wool and the locks on the floor are worth money, and the wind blowing through the shed always blows some of it out the door. So we sweep it up and put it into the butts as often as we can between picking up the next fleece and whatever our other jobs are at that particular moment. During the day, we also need to pack the wool down into the butts. You can pack it down nice and tight and get a lot more wool in than when you're just throwing it in. Once we've picked through all the wool, it goes into the press and gets pressed into a bale. We sometimes separate it out for short and long. This stuff's all pretty even, so most of it just went straight in the press. So the preparation for the lamb's wool is a little bit different, but it doesn't take long to pick it up if this is your first time in the shed. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!